Okay, I'm gonna see if I can shoot a very impromptu video on identity. I've been trying to shoot this video for a minute and it hadn't come through, but we're gonna go with it. God, for some reason, has had me working on long form content, and so we're gonna go with that. Okay, so identity. I'm gonna use, let's use another famous person, make it more entertaining. I'm not gonna pick anybody specific, but I'm gonna use someone like at that level because anybody can like identify with this to a degree. Anybody. Okay, so identity. Let's look at a dude. Should I make it a dude or a chick? Dude or a chick? Let's go with a dude. Okay, let's say that he had something similar to the chick that I used in the visibility video. This is the sign to go watch the visibility video. Let's say that he had one of those kind of types of careers that he made, like, you know, a lot of money, a lot of fame, but had like a time limit. Or yeah, like maybe it was rapping or athletes or whatever, something like that. And he could only, it's not that he could only like play, I don't want to do an athlete, but like, let's say it's music or something. And let's say that he just didn't want to do it anymore. Okay. And let's say that he was looking to see what else he wanted to do. And let's say that he obviously was, you know, building businesses off of his, you know, what he had already established, because that's, you know, what they do. Let's say that he was not dealing with anything like too terrible. This is more like, you know, he's wanting to figure out what he needs to do to improve. Now, this is one of those things where he's already developed the work ethic, he's already developed the discipline, the drive, the determination, all the hoopla, you know, to be successful. So if he doesn't change anything, if he just keeps doing what he's doing, he's gonna go on to, you know, make 10 to 20, 30, 50x what he's already doing. So like, why would he want to change his identity? That's the first key. Why would he want to change it? If it's working for him, why change it? That is the problem that I see, and it's the hardest one to change. It's the most challenging, because if something is working for you, why change it? And especially if something's working for you in a positive way, especially if something's making you hundreds of millions of dollars. However, this is where it's like, you know, like people at that level, they have a lot of people around them that are like, oh, this is so great. And they want to keep that vibe going because they've seen the money come in from that identity, and it makes sense. It's safe. You know, why mess with something that's not broke type of thing? Always continue to do the thing that made you successful in the first place. Those types of things. And all of those are very, very valid. And I'm like fully in alignment with that as well. However, just because something, it's one of my favorite rom-com lines of all time. Just because something is great doesn't mean it can't be greater. And so the guy is probably thinking, and he's probably already identified this, that, well, I know that, like, you know, I think that like my, you know, dream has already been lived, and I've already, you know, done my thing, and nothing's going to come close to, you know, I've heard athletes say nothing comes close to running into a stadium of 70,000 fans or whatever the hell the number is, like that kind of thing. And what I want to say to that guy is, how the fuck do you know that? How the fuck do you know that? Don't you think that's limiting? What if that's like a tiny fraction of who you're meant to be in your life? What if you got yourself around people who are talking to you like that? What if you got around an almighty God who spoke to you like that? What if you were playing extremely small compared to what you can be? But it requires your identity to change. It requires everything that made you so successful to change. What then? They deal with the same stuff that, and I'm referring back to, I don't know what video it was, the whole like, why certain people can coach elite clients. This is exactly an example of what I'm talking about. And like the guy, let's say the guy's like, well, I'm okay with making $1 billion and I'm listening, tell me more. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, the thing is that when you want to make, when we're looking at that kind of identity, like let's say that, like, fine, let's, use an athlete example. Nothing feels better than running into a stadium of 70,000 screaming fans and blah, 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 that crap. It's like, well, you do know that an identity requires you to think much higher than that, right? You do know that that requires you to like evolve past personal validation and winning. Well, I'm doing that already. Really? Are you? Or are you living your life as somebody who's rising above it, but coming close? Elite people deal with the same shit that people who are trying to make $500,000 a year are. It's just deeper, and it's just, they need the type of people who aren't impressed with the bullshit that they've received. They need people that are going to be like, this ain't shit compared to what you're capable of. All you did was get up every morning and put on some gear and tell yourself that that was hard and go out there and play. And you think you're just like the cat's meow because you achieved all this stuff, and everybody else in the world is so limited minded that they validate it for you. And so you're in this place thinking that you're rising above when you're not. That's how I talk to my clients, in a very loving manner. And it's really challenging. It's really challenging for someone who's created a whole lot of success for them to have people around them, because those people around them have been supporting them get to that level. They're not above them. They're, in terms of success, because they haven't achieved that level of success. They've supported the person achieving the success. And so they aren't thinking, and the majority of them, again, this goes back to the whole client. I did not know I was going here. The client video of like, the elite client video. I'll put the link for it in the comments. This goes back to like, they may be surrounded by people who've made them, the agents and the managers and the publicists and the coaches and all that kind of crap. But they aren't like, those people were like working with them in the field to try to help them become successful. Unlike certain coaches that I know that I'm in touch with who spent like from the moment they woke up until the time they went to bed looking at the teeniest, tiniest angles of how the highest level motherfuckers were limiting themselves. Why? Because they were already at that highest level, playing with those elite people, figuring out what to say to those people at the highest level. You're playing too fucking small. And here's why. If they're thinking like that, the people around these elite people don't hold a candle to what these other coaches can bring to the table. Identity. I did not know I was going to go here. I did not know I was going here. Okay, identity. So the guy, the dude. So he's like, well, I'm going to read Tolstoy and super complicated inventors and um, go study with monks and do all that kind of crap, and, change my vocabulary and open up different businesses, and, speak to people and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna, do all that stuff. And that's good. It's admirable. It's character building. It's, but it's missing the mark. And he knows it. He's like, he's still searching. What is it? 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 It's your identity, bro. It's your identity. Because your identity is someone who's hit that level and he's like, I'm going to become this awakened man and all this kind of crap. And so what happens is he walks around acting like somebody who's awakened, who's past his prime, who, continues to have these levels of success, and everybody's just kind of like, they still worship him for the things that he achieved, and he's trying to become this different person. Notice the vocabulary here, trying to become this other person, but not reaching it. I was like, damn, my low battery signal went off. This is good. Okay. So he's like trying to reach that place. And he may, in fact, like, find good business stuff because he's got that momentum going from his success that he had in his thing. So he's riding the momentum of all that stuff. But there's 3 keys to identity work. Okay. And it's severing, alignment, I think. I divided it into like 3 things on ChatGPT, but basically, in a nutshell, he needs to cut off all of this old stuff that he thinks that makes him so elite, because he's identifying as, a husband or a father or both, or, a leader and all this stuff. And he's, sitting on these identities that he thinks is what creates, his new identity. And it's not. So what does he need? In my personal opinion, in order to fully, step into an identity that is far above any of this kind of crap, I think you need Jesus Christ. But that's me. I don't think you're going to actually find the level of identity that supernaturally moves. Cause this is because there's an identity where it's like, I'm awakened. And I remember I was studying at a yoga studio way back in the day, spending 3 hours a day on the mat. And I remember I was so frustrated because I was looking to be awakened myself. And this dude said to me, he was like, the best line I've ever heard is, and he was saying this, is when a man says, oh, I've been awakened. And the reality is, if you say that you've been awakened, you're a total shit show. And I'm not saying that this person that I'm making up is a shit show, but it's like, if you're aiming to be awakened, well, that's what you're heading for. And you're just going to keep swimming in this whole default identity, but just sounding a little bit soft and fluffy. And, you'll still make your money. You'll still have your identity, but are you actually becoming who you God ordained meant to be? No. So, authority. This is a big part of identity. This guy that I'm using, his authority is coming from all of his accomplishments, his being a father, husband, leader, provider, all of that stuff. When the reality is there's a level of authority that's way above that is in Jesus Christ, in my opinion. But there's an authority that's way above all that noise that you can't reach from going and reading Tolstoy and, doing the awakening things. It just doesn't happen. It's getting clear on, what is that highest path for that person. And if that person is like, oh, well, this doesn't exist, well, then it's not going to exist. The key is to find who is that person that that I said earlier, in terms of the height and the width and all, and the depth of all of those things, that is in Jesus Christ, that can move through him. But if he's like, oh, I just want to be awakened, okay, good for you. Well, what was I gonna say? Severing. So he's got to cut off these old things. Now that doesn't mean you cut off the good stuff that helped you become successful. No, but you do cut off the things that are like looking for, like having to sacrifice stuff. In this identity, do you have to sacrifice family relationships? Does your family need to suffer? Do the people around you need to suffer? Do all these other things need to suffer in order for you to accomplish what it is that you're supposed to accomplish? No, in this level of identity, I would think that every single relationship around you, they not only experience supernatural healing, they experience supernatural bliss, they experience supernatural growth and development in their own lives. And it's not just, oh, I get to see the people around me that I love grow. No, you literally change the world in whatever way you're meant to change the world, because somebody who's put in that position, if they actually do the kind of work that they're meant to do internally, like, hello, you're going to affect the world in a global type of way. Like, but are you actually going to do the work, the real work, the rare work that pretty much 99.9% of people in those industries avoid? Let's be real. Sorry, but yeah. And again, people at 5K a month wanting to go to 50 or $500,000 a month, it's the same work, just a little bit different. And you get there doing the same type of things. Precision, that's what it was. Severing precision and authority. Okay, so severing off those old mindsets of like sacrifice and all that kind of crap. Precision. Are you fully aligning with this new identity? Do you even know what it is? Are you like thinking at that level? Are you already in that level? Are you half-assing that level? If you can't identify that level, then you're half-assing it. Now, that doesn't mean you stop everything else and that's the only thing that you focus on, but you give it time every single day. God, who is this identity? Show me how to precisely align for this identity. I don't want to miss the best thing that you have. And this is no longer about me. It's about who you want to impact. If I was selfish enough to be able to achieve all these things that were so important to me, what about like what's important for the world? And it's not important for me to be awakened. It's for the world to wake up to their own truth. And however that, like, I don't know how that manifests for somebody or what it looks like, but, you know, hello. Yeah, okay. I'll see you guys later.